Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me. In this series, I'll be bringing together a number of different topics from UFOs, UAPs, the paranormal, extraterrestrial intelligence, angelic intelligences, and a whole number of different topics that, when brought together, start to build a picture of what's actually going on. Now, I don't have all the answers. If I did, I wouldn't be sitting here and you wouldn't be watching me, because it would be something that's out there known. So we've got a number of different things going on in the world right now, and it does come down to soul evolution. But before we get to that, let's build a picture, and I'll be doing that in this series. To start off with, my name is Pete Slattery, Pete for short, Peter Maxwell Slattery in full, and I've been an experiencer most of my life. And for the last 15 years nearly, I've dedicated my life to a mission of soul evolution, self-exploration in human potentiality. And it was initiated through my own experiences, which started at childhood. Now, about the last 6-7 years, it's been we could say a full-time mission to where I've traveled the world. And over the last, we could say, a bit over a decade, I've done 13 books to today. A number of documentaries, a lot of television appearances, and we could say briefed a lot of different people around the world in different positions on the reality that this is a lot more than just extraterrestrials or just a angelic demonic phenomena that's happening, because it's all connected. And so where I am today is at Jaya Sanctuary, which is my home, and it's also a place that I open to the public for workshops, doing it in small group, intimate settings, and that's based in Victoria, Australia. So Ascension, what is it? Well, for some, it's going to a higher state of consciousness. Some might say a higher vibration. Some see Ascension as going to the new earth, 5D, going to a higher dimensional state. While for others, it's shedding the physical body and going into a light body state, which does include, which we will be going into, the Merkaba and the rainbow body. To start off with this as well, something that anybody can research is Ascension in the Bible. The stories of Enoch, Elijah, and Jesus ascending. Also, some would say that Mother Mary did, depending on your viewpoint. Even in the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad had an ascension experience where he was guided by Gabriel going into the higher states and higher realms. With Buddha, it's said that Buddha chose to ascend to the heaven of the 33 gods. And ascension in Judaism, we could say that going into Jewish mysticism, the Merkaba, if we look at the word chariot throne and change that with Merkaba, that's really what's being explained throughout biblical texts. It's your light body, your photon robe. And what it is, as you can see here, is two opposing tetrahedrons that spin in opposing directions that are overlapping. And this is said to be the chariot, the throne, our light vehicle that we can traverse to many dimensions. And I've had experiences with this, and I've been with beings that appear in this as well, which I will be going into a little bit more. So looking into it, it is a trans-dimensional vehicle, part of the ascension process, and it allows one to access to many realms. This can be something that is a mind's eye experience. We could say an inner vision journey and experience, but it is also something that can appear physically as well. As you can see here, this is a video that I took on the outskirts of Melbourne, Australia, many years ago now, and this is a being in its Merkaba. Going on from the Merkaba shape of the two opposing tetrahedrons that overlap, we see this throughout many cultures. For example, here's a mandala, and there it is. Here is another one. And this is something that I did take from the net. I don't know who is the original person, and I can't 100% authenticate all this, but I thought it would be some food for thought that looking at this, what do we have here in Armenia, Ethiopia, Rome, throughout many, many different cultures, this keeps reappearing, the Merkaba. Now, it can appear as an orb. What you've got is a situation where you've got two opposing tetrahedrons, and because one is spinning one way and the other is spinning another way, what you've got is a sort of blur effect that takes place to where it looks like a flickering light orb at times, but inside it, in some cases, not all, there is a Merkaba. And this is what's going into the UFO phenomena, UAPs, that not all these objects are nuts and bolts, and not all of them have humans like us in it, though there are humans like us throughout not just this galaxy but the universe. Now, just a quick little interesting sort of diversion here. James Gilliland, who's got ECETI Ranch and I've been working with for many years, and I've got ECETI Australia, which is under the umbrella of Jaya Sanctuary. James has an amazing place in America, the ECETI Ranch. Tens of thousands of people have flocked there over the years, and a lot of people have experiences there. Now, there is Mount Adams, which is sort of like the canvas backdrop of ECETI, and there's a history going right back with the Native Americans, and even Project Blue Book and other investigators went to this area because of the phenomena that takes place there. And really, I say James is like the caretaker of that place because he's holding that space, regulating that energy, and there's a lot of different beings going in and out of that area. And the mountain actually has what I would describe as a multi-dimensional base, which James has talked extensively about over the years. Why I bring this up is because I've been there many times and filmed and experienced a lot of different things there. And eventually, over time, I got to know a gentleman called John Vivanco, who has been remote viewing for over 25 years. He's well regarded at what he does. And how I was introduced to him was because originally he heard about ECETI and did remote viewing on, is this all real, what's going on ECETI? And his conclusion was yes. And what he got in some of the data, and I'll say this in a roundabout way, not in his words, but with recall the best that I can, was that there is hundreds, if not thousands, of these lights which are actually beings, lion beings. And talking to him, I believe he's come to the conclusion these were beings in their Merkaba, their light vehicle. And he wasn't versed in this at that time, meaning the Merkaba. He's had experiences and seen UFOs and everything else, but not that actual terminology. And so here's some footage that I took years ago at ECETI of one of these balls of light coming out of the mountain. There's some lasers and you see it shoot up. Here it is again in slow-mo. And what this ties into is really interesting things from experience, because a lot of my experiences, yes, can be physical and also non-physical. There's a non-physical nature to it, as where these intelligences and their craft can appear as mist, smoke, cloud-like. Now, through my research over the years, we find a very common theme within the Bible. And I'll go into just an example of this. So Exodus 40:34, then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Cloud, all right? Now, here's an experience, and I'll be showing photos that I've taken around my homes and places and properties and things like that. But just as an example here, this is at ECETI in the hall there, the Ezekiel Hall. And James is doing a technique where we connect with the intelligences. And so what we've got here is something appearing like a cloud. So going on with this, the King James Bible, Exodus 13:21. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. Not saying this is exactly what's going on, but if we look at this in a different way, in a broader way, is a lot of what these cloud manifestations in the Bible something of a paranormal nature? Is it God expressing itself in a way that can interface with us? Though, from my opinion and experience, everything is one consciousness interfacing with itself. Is it angelic? Is it celestial? Is it extraterrestrial? Is it something local that's from the inner earth or an ultra-terrestrial, what have you? These things I've been writing about for over a decade, and many way before me as well. But just think about it, and then at night, are we seeing their energy take on a different form? Now, here's a photo of a grey extraterrestrial in its craft that I took probably 12 years ago, give or take, when I was living in Albury. And this is something that many people have experienced with me. Now, the way that this operates, the best way that I can explain, is that, let's say, for example, this is another byproduct that can happen, is that you can be in bed and you may start to hear something that's like a whoom, 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 and a high ringing type pitch sound like a Tibetan singing bowl. This can actually be a craft in apparition form. Imagine a UFO, a flying saucer, or any shape of craft in an apparition form like a ghost. So it's transparent, it's see-through, it can land on you while you're in bed, and they can interface, whether through consciousness-assisted technology or through their own ability spiritually, with your pineal gland, the mind's eye, where you have your inner visions, and it can appear that you're on board a craft, and in a way you actually can be. Now, that's how some of these experiences take place, but they can pull your consciousness on board once they start to resonate with you. They can pull your consciousness on board and put it in an avatar body. They can also physically pull you on board. This is some of what we got going on, to where you could be with a few friends, and I've done this before, and we've got some footage of this, to where you could be outside initiating contact through intention and meditation, and all of a sudden you could feel a temperature change, even the environment go to a muffled type audio sound. So basically what you're hearing with your ears, it goes slightly to a muffled state. And in your peripheral vision, you might even be able to see the peripheral of the craft and even beings, and sometimes straight on as well. So you've got a situation here that this extraterrestrial and transdimensional reality is beyond what most think. There are 3D extraterrestrials. There are what we could say 3D type crafts. Some are operating in a time machine state. Some have got that capability, but are also going into a state of beyond light when they're traversing space and time. And some are using the stars, which are portals, to navigate. Some are breaking down to a photon or an electron, depending on their level of consciousness. Now, what this looks like is a cloud. Now, this was summer, and we watched this go from the left hand of the field originally, which was lighting up a whole area as purple. And by that time I got the camera and it had moved to where we're seeing it now. And we watched this dematerialize as well. And these are also analysis by Jason Gleaves. Here is a photo I took of a being called Zoa. Now, to anyone, that just looks like a cloud, mist, smoke, what have you. The wispy stuff. Down the bottom you can see a pathway. There's grass next to that on each side. And for some, they might even start to see something in this photo. This is where it's slightly changed. And this is what I'm talking about. These beings will appear in this misty smoke, and this is actually a lion humanoid being called Zoa from Sirius. So there's the original on the left. It's enhanced with the circle pointing out the figure and the head, without the circle, and then a close-up enhanced again. So that's from the 10th of August 2020. So I'm just going to leave it there, and I want to wrap this up by going into a clearing and give you some tips and tools throughout this as well. So clearing is to assist our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, whether the day is getting on top of you, people are thinking bad thoughts of you, and there can also be negative influences and entities. I can go into a whole heap of this stuff, which I'll be covering some of it. This clearing in a longer format is actually on my YouTube channel and website and Spotify. There's a whole heap of them out there, so you can go and do them, play with them in your own way. These are just tips and tools. So just get comfortable, close your eyes and just breathe at a comfortable rate. And so I just call upon our guides and higher self and God Source Creator. I ask that any cords, attachments, implants, parasitic thought forms, blockages, anything in our field or environment that isn't in line with the awakening healing of humanity, the earth and our missions and journeys, is now dissolved and escorted to its perfect place. Go in peace. Thank you. I call upon source energy now to go throughout the molecular structure of the body, the layers of the light body, balancing out, rectifying, enhancing energies where needed to run at optimal efficiency. Lastly, I ask that we sit off in our own orbs of light, immune from any outside influences, and that only our main teacher and guides and higher self and source can come into this orb of light to assist with guidance, direction, service to others, abundance, peace, love and joy, and a balance of mind, body and spirit. And so it is. So until next time, I hope you got something from this. Love, light and bliss and many blessings. Thank you.